Let's click go live. Hi, everybody. Welcome. First question I have to ask you, because I'm using a new microphone, is can you hear me? And is the sound good? Better than what you're used to? Many of you have written into me saying, if only you would improve your sound. And here is another shot at it. So, welcome, beautiful soul family. This is a place where we relax together, where we enjoy together. Yes, you can hear me. Woo-hoo! Yes. Can you feel my heart beating? My heart is beating so fast. You know how it is when you do something new, you do something that you're not quite confident with yet, and it gives you butterflies. And every time I'm with you, I get butterflies in my tummy. So I'm encouraging you right here, right now to say, am I present? Am I in this moment? Even more so because this year, the main aspect astrologically that we are dealing with is this Saturn square Uranus. We had an exact square on February 17th. We've got another one coming up on June the 14th. And again at the end of the year on December 24th. So all this year, we've got the pulling energy, because it's a square of two big planets. Saturn, the outermost of, shall we say, the inner planets. So the ancients could only see up to Saturn with the naked eye. That is still true. So Saturn was like the ending. Saturn was like the end of the world, the flat earth, where people believed that they were going to fall off the edge if they continued. So Saturn is this energy of structure of the past, of things that we know, a certain familiarity. And Saturn rules form, things, stuff, material things, as well as thought forms. So Saturn can take you into the past. And Uranus, the square with Uranus, can pull you into the future and say, hey, look at this, look at that, look at the other. And you may find that you're never, at least not for long, right here, right now. So I ask you right here, right now, in the spirit of getting in touch with these pulls that may be very prevalent in one way or another in your life. Oh, I could have done this, I should have done that. Something's missing, something's not quite right. Or, oh, maybe this is going to be good, and let's look at this, yeah? And never quite being right here, right now. So I'm going to encourage you, as our soul family, let's see if we can practice being really present with one another. Let's see the magic that we can create by being really here. We've got lots of eruptions happening around. Saturn Uranus is very much an eruptive, disruptive energy. And we can see that. Yeah, I mean, it's all around. There was the earthquake in Greece a few days ago. Then a couple of days ago here in New Zealand, we had an evacuation order because there was a big earthquake in the Keramac Islands. And it was intense. Yeah, they thought we were going to have tsunamis and, you know, go away from the coast and get to high ground. So there's a lot of disruption happening. So I've been meditating on this. Is there a bridge astrologically that we can use that will help us smooth out at least our reactions to the disruptive energy around? Because I don't think the disruption is ending. I felt as though I've been dodging bullets this week, really. It's like, whoosh, another one. Whoosh. Yes, what's coming from where? And maybe you've been feeling similarly in different ways. And even if you haven't been having it personally in your personal life, although I think many of us have, you will be feeling it in the collective vibe. So are things moving really quickly? There's a lot of things moving really quickly along. Uranus, a new this, a new that, a new vaccine, another new vaccine, another new thing. And it's like, shoo, things moving very quickly. And then the Saturn energy that wants to bring in new laws, new legislation. And have you got time? Have you got time? Saturn is the lord of time. To just be in touch with what you're feeling right here, right now, and to be able to disengage from the reactiveness of the disruptions. Because I do think there are going to be more. I don't like to say that, but I think that this is what is coming astrologically. And that whatever you're resisting, so I've just been resisting in many ways, like, oh, you know, how am I going to find a place here? It's so expensive in New Zealand. A lot of the rentals are very substandard, let's say. And, you know, all this been going and resisting a little bit. And I thought, okay, I'll surrender to what is. We've got so much Piscean energy happening at the moment. It's very much about knowing, all right, I'll surrender. Let me just allow to unfold whatever is unfolding around me. There was certainly nothing to do about a tsunami warning other than get to high ground. Okay, you have to surrender to whatever nature is bringing. And I have to laugh, I've had to surrender in my meditations very often because they are digging up the garden here. We're in the Airbnb that I'm staying at some of the time. And they've got drills and tractors and God knows what going on. And it's been a wonderful practice not to have the silence and the peacefulness. And to be able to watch my reactions and my thinking and all those other things that have been coming up as a result of that disruption, things not going to plan. And Saturn likes to plan. And Uranus doesn't want any plans because it wants to be free. Okay? Saturn wants to commit you. Saturn wants to say, right, you're going to do a webinar on that date. And you're going to show up. So there's a certain responsibility there. And Uranus says, I want to be free. I don't want to have all these responsibilities. So whatever you're resisting is likely to get stronger. At least that's what I've been noticing. I don't know if you've noticed it. I just want to say a real big thank you to everybody who's joining in here. Thank you, MJ, very much. You're encouraging everybody to like the video, and Lucy's doing the same. Thank you, Lucy. If you would be kind enough to like the video, that enables more of our beautiful soul family to join us and to create an energy field that is positive and for all of us. Yeah, there's like an energy that just moves us forward, just as there's this negative energy. Auckland opened up yesterday. We've been under quite a heavy lockdown suddenly for the last week, and it was open yesterday, so everybody was like let loose. And the mall was super busy, and I had to get some printing done because I can't get my printer to work. So you had to queue to get into the shop, then you had to queue social distance to get to the printing, and it was a good hour, a little bit more, I think. And there was mumbling and grumbling going on in the queue. Yeah, just a little bit. Wasn't too bad. But I could feel myself having to be super conscious of not to get drawn into that moaning, groaning, complaining vibration. So that's what I'm wanting to bring here, this energy that don't resist whatever you are in, surrender to it, even if you don't like it. I don't like having to keep moving. I really don't, but it seems to be what is the highest for my soul's journey at the moment. I can still wish and hope for a great outcome. And I thank those of you who are sending positive wishes and messages. I appreciate that. But I'm reminded of my great aunt, not the Auntie Jenny in Manchester, but my great aunt who's long gone. But she vowed, she said, I will never go in an aeroplane. Never, ever will I fly anywhere. And she actually died in a train accident. I mean, it's so unusual. Yeah, train accidents, I think, are much rarer or very rare. So look at where you are resisting and where it's causing tremendous tension in your physical body and in your breathing, and see if you can just become present and see if you can find a way to accept it. Not necessarily easy, but I think we may have a little key here. Upon meditating with the drillers, I've been meditating on Saturn and Uranus. And then I had an aha moment of Chiron. Chiron, first discovered in 1977, whose orbit is very elliptical. It's very erratic. And it goes in and out between Saturn and Uranus. It bridges the gap between what are known as the inner planets, Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. So Saturn, the end of that string of planets, and the outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. The first outer planet, Uranus. So it bridges this gap between these two energies. So Chiron, I'm going to be doing a detailed webinar about Chiron. For those of you who want to go more deeply into Chiron, your Chiron, how it plays in your life, how you can use it, because I think that Chiron is a key to unlocking some of the mysteries and the challenges that we're facing this year with the most difficult aspect, which is Saturn square Uranus. There's no question that that is the most challenging aspect that we're facing. So if we can learn to work with and understand the energies of Chiron, he may give us some clues as how to heal, because Chiron is known as the wounded healer. Why is he known as the wounded healer? Well, it stems back to some mythology. Chiron's father was Saturn, interestingly, Saturn, Kronos. Kronos, coming from the Greek word time, chrono, to chrono, the year. And Saturn was a one for womanizing and doing what he wanted with women. And he saw this lovely nymph for Lyra. And, you know, she really didn't want to mate with Saturn. No, thank you. So she turned herself, because these demigods or gods could turn themselves, shapeshift very easily. And she turned herself into a mare. But Saturn, of course, very clever and wily, he turned himself into a horse. And he mated with her anyway and produced Chiron. And Chiron is known as the centaur. He's got many different names, but he had half the body of a man and half the body of a horse. And both his parents, Saturn and Lyra, rejected him at birth. His mother couldn't bear to look at him. Yeah, he was ugly. He didn't look right. So he went through the most terrible rejection. And he was fostered by Apollo, the god Apollo. And he became very learned. He had a lot of wisdom. He had great inspiration. He had a great deal of knowledge, all this Uranian energy. Yes, so he possessed all this genius. Chiron was a genius in many ways. But he had to overcome all these wounds and these pains. And then what happens is he is wounded by a poisoned arrow in his leg. Some say it's his foot, some say it's his leg. And he's wounded. And he cannot heal himself from this wound. He's been able to heal all these others, but not himself. And this is one of the reasons he's called the wounded healer. He is wounded, unable to heal self, but able to heal others. He also he has pain every day of his life from this wound. The pain never goes away, and he's immortal. He's a demigod, so he can't die. So he asks the gods, he says, what can I do? I want to die, wanted to die. So he swapped places with Prometheus, who angered the gods by stealing fire, so the myth goes, and has his liver pecked out every day, and it regenerates, it's pecked out every day. He swaps places in the myth with Prometheus, and in that his mortality is recognized. So Saturn is our reality button, and Uranus is our connection to immortality. Saturn, the visible, the form. Uranus, the immortal, the electricity that we cannot see, but we know exists. And Chiron, potentially, the bridge. So you may be going through some suffering, some pain. And very often your sufferings and your pains are your greatest awakeners. Sitting in an ashram and being peaceful somewhere and praying and meditating and not having too many external disruptions isn't necessarily the best recipe for great evolutionary growth. Very often it comes from your painful experiences, the things that activate those reactions in you, where your greatest growth arises. So we're looking now. So then I got to me looking, right, where's Chiron now? Let's see. Chiron is in Aries right now. It went into Aries in 2018. It's going to be in Aries till 2026, goes briefly into Taurus, and then comes back into Aries until 2027. But it's particularly a key in the door right now in Aries as to how we may find the way through this evolutionary awakening into consciousness that we're going through, all of us. So what is it, or what do I feel it is in terms of my meditations on the subject? Chiron in Aries. So this Chiron, remember, it's bridging the gap between the old and the new. And Aries has to do with the ego. Me, mine, the death of the ego, the death of the unconstructive ego. So many of us are asking, who am I? What am I doing here? What's really meaningful? And Aries very much about your self-identity. Are you identifying with your viewpoint? Are you identified? And it's also, I feel, especially because this anger was what caused the breakup of a relationship, and I think causes the breakup of many relationships. I think we are in the process, the wounded healer, of healing the collective anger. The wounded masculine energy, the patriarchal energy that we've been working with, the patriarchal society run on aggression and fear. We have an opportunity with this square to begin to heal these wounds. And that's what's prompted me to do a more detailed webinar for those of you who want to go more deeper into Chiron and what Chiron means and how, using the energy of Chiron, we can begin to move to this higher consciousness. So I think we're looking at with the Aries energy, we are looking at taking responsibility, not blaming others or situations, but being really responsible. Aries, okay. And improving your self-worth. Not constantly saying, oh, you know, I should, I did, I couldn't. But we've got to work on really feeling good about yourself and raising one another up. Keep raising one another up. That's what I love about our soul family here. This is a place, I hope, where you feel raised. Where you feel, yes, there's some other possibilities. Let's be together. I think it's an opportunity to face addictions, where we're addicted to things that are driving us, that we're identified with something that's no good for you, and you know it. I think it's a search for a collective identity. Aries is very much about your identity. And the wounds of the identity, and what do we now want to create personally? And I think it's very much about finding your passion. What is it that makes you feel as though you're in your element? I'm in my element. Thank you, MJ. Thank you. I love, 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 love the astrology. I love the channeling. I love being with you. So every day I wake up and I'm thinking about this. And I think we need to encourage one another to find your element. What's your element? And there's this finding of your identity, the finding of something that you love to do, Aries, to do. And because Mars, ruler of Aries right now, is in Gemini, we must watch Mars this year, because Mars is ruler of this Chiron in Aries. So wherever Mars is, collectively, we need to make best use of the Martian energy. Mars is in Gemini. So this is very much about reaching out to all kinds of different people with different opinions to you, people who think differently. Now, it might mean that you also say, hey, that's not what I want to be around 24/7. I went to see a beautiful house yesterday, and it would have involved sharing some of the facilities, but it looked like it might be all right. So I've been open to considering all possibilities. But upon meeting these lovely people, they were lovely, I knew that inside of me that people who are drinking and smoking and doing things that are not on an everyday basis, things that I resonate with, that it would be a more difficult energy to adapt to. So lovingly, I did not go ahead with that situation. So Mars in Gemini, exploring, learning. What can you learn about Chiron now? What can you learn about your Chiron in your chart to see where you may be challenged to be the wounded healer? And the wounded healer is very much where you've grown through some suffering and you are now able to help others and give them hope in that area because you've been through it. You know what that feels like. You've walked in their shoes. That's the kind of energy that I think we're dealing with. So I think it's very much we're in this healing energy, and especially now with this new moon coming up in Pisces on the 13th of this month. Pisces is all about healing, well-being, compassion, love, and knowing that the anger is probably going to come up. And I love this quote by Maya Angelou. Where is it? Bitterness is like cancer. It eats upon the host. But anger is like fire. It burns all clean. So it isn't to say that, you suppress the anger, you don't have it. There are ways of expressing. Sometimes you might paint it out. You look behind me, you may see that there's passion, there's emotion coming out. There's not much fire in the heavens at the moment. So you may find things coming out. But what we are being called upon with the Chiron in Aries, which again is dealing with anger, is how can we become conscious of when that force of anger begins to take you over, when you begin to identify with the anger, when it just consumes you. It's like, and you're lashing and you're fighting out. And my challenge at the moment, is to become more conscious and to try to catch that impulse and to observe it happening before it consumes me. I think that's the challenge. I think that's something I'm working with, and maybe you're working with as well, and some of you are working with that as well. So if you are interested in Chiron, I recommend two wonderful books. Lucy, please, you can put them in the chat or in the community page. Barbara Hand Clow, Chiron Rainbow Bridge Between Inner and Outer Planets, and also Melanie Reinhart, who's written a great book called Chiron and the Healing Journey, if you want to take that further in your learning. So I think this is a really wonderful potential key to some of the things that we might be dealing with, because I think there's going to be a lot of polarization with people who are going along with things that are happening and people who are not going along with. But can we accept one another even if we violently disagree? I'm just asking questions here, just asking the question. I'm not giving a view one way or the other. I am suggesting, though, in the spirit of the Piscean new moon, of this energy of giving and receiving, and that sometimes we're very comfortable with giving, wanting to keep giving, but also receiving is important. And I'm reminded of a lovely story about the Dalai Lama. And he was given by a very poor lady, and she gave him a skirt that she had made. And you might think, well, the Dalai Lama, what use has he got for a skirt? And he graciously accepted it and thanked her. And he was asked afterwards, you know, why did you accept that? He said, she needed to give it. And I thought, how beautiful, how Piscean, how compassionate, that there is this need that we have to give to one another, and also an opportunity at this time to remember to receive, to take on the goodies that we want to give to one another. I think it's an important time to become aware of your mind activity and it leading you up a bit of a garden path. This is this practice of presence. And I love this little conversation between Pooh and Piglet. And Piglet says to Pooh, supposing a tree fell down, Pooh, when we were underneath it. Supposing it didn't, said Pooh, after a careful thought. And Piglet was very comforted by this. So where are you creating in your mind scenarios that may never happen? Just something to keep in mind here and to keep some degree of equanimity. I'm encouraging you to bring in the energy of passion, of creativity. This sometimes helps with the releasing of frustration. Many of us are locked inside at the moment, can't get out, can't go out, injustices that are happening, all those kinds of things. It may just help you come from a strong place, a responsive place, rather than a reactive place. So I'd just like to thank so many of you for being here today, my beautiful soul family. I do hope you are soothed by this and intrigued by this and want to learn a little more. I thank you, Lucy, for doing a terrific job. I want to thank MJ, who's been amazing today. So many of you for contributing, for your messages, your emails, your kindnesses. And I'm going to finish up again. I'm not sure if YouTube will allow it, but I'm hoping it will. It's certainly, I think, out of copyright in terms of when it was written. But let's think of this uplifting energy of the fire energy. To me, this is very fiery, where there is a sense of optimism. There is a sense that beneath all the clouds, beneath everything, the sun is shining and there is possibility. So here is the Radetzky March, usually played on New Year's Day in Vienna. That is one of my dreams, to be at the New Year's Day concert in Vienna, if it ever happens in person again. But here is the Radetzky March, which I hope uplifts you. And I don't think I can play it.